Welcome to Life Recovery Today with Stephen Arterburn. In the next half hour, you'll obtain insights and tools to transform your life using the biblical principles found in the 12-step program. We believe everyone can benefit from a life recovery experience because we all have struggles in life. Struggles with addictions, food, depression, anxiety, and relationships, to name a few. You'll be encouraged to see how others have found a new way of life with hope for the future through life recovery. Your host is Steve Arterburn, founder of New Life Ministries and Women of Faith, author of over 100 books, and a sought-after speaker and teacher. Steve is the co-editor of the Life Recovery Bible, the #1 selling recovery Bible. With over 3 million copies sold, this is the Bible given to inmates by Prison Fellowship and the Pew Bible for the Salvation Army. Now here's Steve.
Hi, Steve Arterburn here. Welcome to Life Recovery Today, and I am so glad you're with us. You know, we're completing a series that we've been doing, and today we're going to cover the 12th step in that series, and every step has been presented by one of our network counselors or coaches, people that truly know recovery. And today we've got one of those people. Her name is Stacey Smith. She's a counselor, she's an author, lifelong recovery leader. She's also on the board of New Life. One of the reasons is that she's one of the few people that if I ever have a bad attitude or something, she would confront me about that. So she's very, very secure in herself. And by the way, she's also an expert on betrayal trauma and helping couples deal with a very difficult journey of healing. So today we complete our series by talking about the 12th step. Now, a lot of folks only think of one thing when they think about that 12th step, and they think about carrying the message to other people, having had this spiritual awakening. And by the way, recovery really does need that spiritual awakening. And when Bill W. had his spiritual awakening, what an impact that was on his life. But having experienced this supernatural thing, we want other people to experience it. So we go out and we take that message to other folks. But there's another piece of this 12th step that often gets overlooked, and it is that we practice these principles in all of our affairs. Or at least we try to. Now, think about that. That's really more important, I think, than taking the message to others, because you wouldn't want somebody up in a pulpit preaching and they didn't live anything that they were trying to get you to hear about. And so why go take the message to somebody when you're not living the message yourself? And Dave Stoop and I, who developed Life Recovery together, we felt like that we had this long-term relationship because when it came to us, we really did stay current and we practiced those principles in our relationship and our friendship. Sometimes when you get in trouble with a relationship, you might look at the 12 steps and say, is there any part of this that I'm not practicing in all of my affairs? Well, Stacey will get to some of that here, but let's listen to Stacey as she talks about this very important step number 12.
Hello there. I am Stacey Smith, and I am a longtime New Lifer. I'm a New Life counselor, New Life speaker, and a New Life board member, and I am certainly a fan and believe in what New Life does. I also am a longtime attender, member of the 12-step groups and the anonymous programs. In fact, I'm pulling from my dad's very old copy of the AA Big Book for this talk. And the reason that I am so excited and really volunteer to talk about the 12th step is because it's such an inspirational thing to me. I am a therapist. And one of the greatest things, when people first come into therapy, they do not want to be there. And the last thing I would say to them is, God's going to use this for your good, because that's one of those spiritual bypassing statements that really tends to make people mad. So, but what I know in my heart and soul is that God will use it. And I certainly can say in my own testimony, God has used what I've gone through. My life verse talks about how we comfort others with the comfort that we've been given. And that's what step 12 is all about. So one of the coolest things is when I really specialize in treating partners of sex addicts. And when they get to a certain step in their recovery, they say to me, Stacey, I really am ready to give back. I want to lead a group. I want to tell people about this in my church. I want to talk to my pastor about it. I want to help other women that are struggling. And I get chill bumps about as tall as 3 inches on my arms, because I just go, this is what it's all about. I'm a trauma counselor, and when we talk about the stages of healing from trauma, the 3rd step is all about reconnection to life. It's about post-traumatic growth. It's about giving back. And I always say that's what the 12th step is. It's about giving back in life. It's getting integrated back in and sharing the message. So step 12 is virtually that. So I'm going to read to you what step 12 is. And it is having had a spiritual awakening. As a result of these steps, we tried to carry this message to others and to practice these principles in all of our lives. So I see the 12th step being in 3 distinct parts. And the first one is the spiritual awakening part. And I believe that a spiritual awakening is it's a profound shift in individuals, just a marked shift of mind, body, soul, and spirit, honestly, about our perceptions, our understanding, or our experience of spirituality, or their connection to a higher power, a divine essence, or a transcendent reality. Now, at New Life, we know that that's Jesus Christ, but I want you to understand that, like the big book talks about deal with the God issue first, because most people have some issues surrounding God. I today call that spiritual trauma, and it's something that you have to deal with people. That's one reason that AA and Al-Anon and SA and NA and all the other OA programs are about calling it a higher power, because some people have been burned by religion or what they perceive to be God or Jesus Christ. So we used to say, well, okay, God could be your doorknob. Your higher power could be the doorknob. We get the gift as Christians to understand that is Jesus Christ, but even us Christians have to work through our own spiritual trauma. So the point is meeting people where they're at with that. We hope that as people work through the program, they get that spiritual awakening. It's also associated with a deepening of one's spiritual consciousness, or a heightened sense of awareness of sorts, and a transformational change in one's beliefs, values, and perspectives. The One Day at a Time book from Al-Anon says that it's a realization that we aren't alone and helpless. And at New Life, we talk all about connection. And once you have that realization of I'm not alone, we call it the me too. When you're looking around going, me too, me too. There is something spiritual that happens inside of you, that there is something bigger than us going on that could pull all those people together. And the authenticity that comes out of sharing in recovery groups is nothing but divine. It's nothing short of divine. And so, like we said, when we realize we're not alone and people start looking at us and saying, accepting us as we are, even with all of our faults and all of our imperfections, it's a really powerful thing. And it's really conducive to growing spiritually and developing a spirituality, because God is all in that. Sometimes it comes because we had no direction before. As we start working the steps, we think about steps 1, 2, and 3. And my way of saying that is steps 1, 2, and 3 are as simple as I can't, he can, I think I'll let him. And so there is something really powerful about that spiritual awakening. And I know me, I have to go back to realizing I'm powerless over time and realizing that God's God, and then letting go of this thing that I love so much called control. And so as we work through that, there's a spiritual awakening that happens, and that's the one that they're talking about there in the 12th step. And so it's what starts everything. It's the thing that's the catalyst for change in this program. The second is carrying the message. And that is experiencing and sharing our experience, strength, and hope with what we've been through and sharing it with others. Again, the ODAT book from Al-Anon says that it's about developing a constant awareness of possible need. When we've been through recovery, we start realizing that out in the world, there are people in need, and it's developing a keen eye to the fact that people are out there hurting, and maybe, just maybe, I have a message to send to them. And I think of the word carrier the message, almost like a courier. I've been given an assignment, like a task, to give a message, to share a message. And once you've done true recovery and been helped by someone else, it's pretty hard to be quiet about what you know when you see someone else hurting, because our empathetic nature allows us to see and remember ourselves and what we went through when we did not have the answers and when we were so lost. And we hunger for other people to know the message. Now, there's a lot of different ways to carry the message. We don't have to all become therapists like I did to carry the message. It was a true calling on my life. But sometimes, it's just as simple as sharing your story with someone. Sometimes it's being willing to share your story. Most people walk in the rooms and say, I don't want this to be my story. I grew up in Alatot, Alateen, Al-Anon, and I remember being an Alatot and Alateen because of my dad, and kind of thinking it was weird or whatever. Not sure what I took in, but when I married an addict, I was filled with shame walking in those rooms. And so I was met with the story I made up in my head was that they would say, oh yeah, she's so stupid. She married right into it. She should have known better. And the truth is, I was met with love and acceptance, and we're so glad you're here. And that was really, really powerful. And I wouldn't have felt that way if someone hadn't been willing to share their own story with me and give me so much grace. Maybe it's giving your number to someone else, or a pamphlet, or giving information on some kind of recovery group. Maybe it's just meeting up with someone and having coffee and talking. Maybe it's giving them your phone number. Maybe it's even posting something online. I've seen a lot of people in recovery share a bit of their story so that now they're sort of a poster child for, help. And people know, hey, I can go talk to that person. Being vulnerable and being genuine begets people opening up to us. Maybe it's speaking. Maybe it's writing. There's a lot of different forms of carrying the message. So I'm going to come back. When we come back, I'm going to talk to you a little bit more what the big book says about how we carry the message, because it's kind of funny. We all can get a little overzealous when we learn this new way of life. So we'll catch the rest of that when we come back.
Are you going through your struggles alone? Do you want someone to talk to help you through your pain? Do you feel like a failure when you relapse again, telling yourself, next time will be different? Don't walk this path alone anymore. Join a life recovery group today and be a person that your friends and family can be proud of. God created us to be in community, and we believe everyone can benefit from a life recovery experience. There are life recovery groups all over the country, and if there isn't one in your area, we can help you start one. Life Recovery brings recovery to you, right where you are. You'll take a journey with others to find healing and freedom. Whether you're looking to join a group or start one, New Life Ministries is here for you. Call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE or visit liferecoverytoday.net. Life recovery isn't just about making the courageous choice to give up an addiction or dependency. It's a journey towards health, wholeness, and becoming your very best you. If you need resources to help you in your journey, we can help. There are many life recovery resources that you can do on your own, with a group, or with your church. We have Bibles, workbooks, and devotionals that you can use to work your recovery right where you are. That's the beauty of life recovery. To learn more or to get the Life Recovery Bible or any other life recovery resource, visit liferecoverytoday.net or call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
Welcome back. You know, Stacey, she has such a great way of helping us understand the importance of carrying the message forward. And again, maybe it's redundant, but so important that we live the message before we carry it forward. That's why this is step number 12. Let's continue with Stacey to learn about this very important last step.
Okay, so one of the things that the big book says about carrying the message, we're back to talking about carrying the message again, is find out about the people first. It says it's so logical. I just love it. It says if they don't want to change, don't waste your time. Don't waste their time. Don't waste your time. Just find out about them. Just connect with them. Isn't that the way we share our faith sometimes? Is just asking people what makes them tick. Oh, you look like you're having a bad day. What's going on? Or just asking them about them, not necessarily pushing an agenda. And then it talks about thinking about the way they'd like to be approached, walking a mile in their shoes. If I was you, how would I want to be approached? A lot of people don't think about it that way. If I have a message I want to send, I'm just going to send it the way I want to send it. But it's really talking about empathy, realizing what these people need and being able to give them that. It also talks about it being waiting for the right moment and it being Holy Spirit led. In my mind, that's how I caption it anyway, being Holy Spirit led. You know, sometimes it's like I feel led to say something, but is it me? You know, the old saying, and usually they come from the programs, does it need to be said? Does it need to be said right now? And does it need to be said by me? I think if we're willing, we will have a sense and a knowing from the Holy Spirit if it's the time and if it's us and if we're supposed to say it. I think what God asked for us to do in this step is just to be willing. So I really loved this that I read in the Courage to Change book. It talked about how it says, then I read the 12th step about carrying the message to others and began my missionary work. I dragged people to meetings. I preached what I'd learned to anyone who would listen, and even those who wouldn't. Of course, I made a fool of myself, and none of this worked. Then I read the 12th step again. This time I noticed the part about practicing these principles in all our affairs, all my affairs. Slowly I came to understand that in living these principles, I would carry the message by example. And that's it. Sometimes, what is it? I don't remember the person that says it, about changing lives, use words if necessary. And it is about how we're living. And so practicing these principles is the way that we share that. That's the third area that the 12 step covers. It's awareness of the core values of the program, which again are, I'm powerless, my life's unmanageable, God is bigger than me, and He can lead my life if I let Him, if I let go of control. And then if I take ownership of what's happened to me in my life and what I've done to others in my life, and become willing to continually make amends, to make big amends and continually make amends, then I can live in this way. And that's what our program believes and espouses and asks us to do. And it's about consistently integrating them into your life, using them as sort of a compass to guide your decision making. And when that's the compass, there's really good results. And that's what practicing the principles is all about. It's about upholding the ethical standards of a program. The traditions are all about keeping the program what it is. It's about having principles above personalities, about keeping it unprofessional. It is what keeps it ethical and to its true roots and its true meaning. So when we live out in that way, and those traditions, by the way, are great life practices for sure. That's what practicing the principles mean. Pursuing our own personal growth as a result. When we live in a way of continually making ourselves better and being a positive influence on others, we are spreading the message with just how we live. Of course, living with the values of honesty. I mean, rigorous honesty is one of the tenets of the 12 steps. Accountability, saying, you know what? I need people. I'm aware of my own need, prone to wonder, Lord, I feel it. And accountability to people to say, yeah, you've strayed, or yes, you've done X, Y, Z, or you've fallen back on, your behaviors that controlling, if you're, depending what program you're in, depends on the behavior. Self-reflection, so many people are not aware. Self-awareness is so low, they don't look honestly at themselves and say, you know what, I really am in a bad place, or I really am not living out the principles of the program. And self-improvement in really all relationships and endeavors. That's what practicing the principles mean. And what we can look forward to, the results of that are maintaining our own recovery. The big book talks about how this is one of the best things. Step 12 is to insulate us from relapse, is to continue to share the message and to continue to live in our values in those ways and contribute to the world around us. When we embody these principles on a daily basis, it makes such a difference. Now, a lot of people refer to the last three steps, step 10, 11, 12, as maintenance steps. And, one of the things that can happen is that maintenance sort of goes along the lines of stagnation. But when we can look at one of those steps instead of maintenance steps, let's look at them as growth steps. Then we start thinking about that post-traumatic growth. And my colleague, Laura Mangian McDonald, always says, if we're not growing, we're dying. As long as we're above ground, we need to be working on ourselves. And again, that third stage of trauma that I talked about earlier is about constantly growing and constantly looking at yourself and saying, how can I be the best me? And what is it that's come up? Because we live in a toxic world, it's important to keep doing these things. So the last three steps, if I look at those as a challenge to continue to grow, then we are truly, truly practicing these principles in all of our affairs. I loved what I read in the ODAT book. It was talking about, is it an obligation? Is it an obligation to do 12 steps to the fellowship? And it says, and to newcomers that need our help. The obvious answer is yes, it is an obligation. But the real answer is no. She's not required to pay back any kind for any of the benefits she had. Her only obligation is to herself. She owes herself the continued growth she will derive from giving to others what she has received. And for me, I always think about how my life has changed as a result of my recovery and a result of what others poured into me. And the only thing that makes sense, my life has taken a lot of positive changes lately, including getting married, and I feel like there's so much overflow in my life. And I used to relate to people out of the need in my life. I was still in the ditch. And so I would say, I'm here, I get it. Now I'm having to learn how to do it in this place called overflow. And it makes me want to live a 12-step life, because out of this overflow, I want to give back. Like, out of the fruits of what God has given me, the only thing that makes sense to me is giving back out of overflow, and saying how good God is, and how good these principles are, and how they're easy, hard, but it's doable. It's the big book says it's a relatively simple program that if most people apply the steps will work for them. And we want that to happen. It's a continual process. The big book says that life will take on new meaning if you do step 12, that you'll feel like you have purpose. And when you're giving to people's lives, you do feel like you have purpose. Your fellowship will grow, and then this place will be a bright spot in your life. So I'll finish on a quote from Albert Schweitzer. He says, "The only ones among you who will be really happy are those who will have sought and found how to serve." Bless you in your walk as you serve others. It'll do good for you and others.
Welcome back. Well, I love the way that Stacey teaches, and this concept of share the message, use words if necessary. It is so much easier for us to talk, certainly for me to talk, than to live what I'm talking about. But that really is the way that we help people want something beyond what they're going through. They see our lives, they see that we have some peace and serenity, they see that we have some security, and they see that we're not questioning everything. It invites them to come be a part of what we're doing. Now, another way to look at the 12th step is to see that it's a celebration of all that we've gone through, and that we're willing to continue the journey of recovery. And as you've heard me say, that's just as important as carrying the message, is continuing that journey. And whenever we integrate those steps into every area of life, you can't help but have a better life. When you're always, every day, turning your life over to God, asking for God's help, trying to make things right with the people that you've wronged, staying current with them, well, it's going to make for a better life. Now, our hope is that you're going to be encouraged to carry this message forward and to continue to work on your recovery. And we want to help you with that. And that's why we have this number, 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Just call us. We'll help you find a group. We'll help you start a group. Whatever you need, we want to provide that for you. I want to thank you for watching. I hope this has been a good series for you. Also hope that you'll share Life Recovery Today with somebody. Encourage them to watch and listen. God bless you. See you next time, right here on Life Recovery Today.
Thanks for joining us for Life Recovery Today with Stephen Arterburn. We hope this program has helped you integrate God's truth and wisdom into your recovery journey. This program is brought to you by New Life Ministries, and it's your support that keeps this program on the air. When you contact us for any reason, be sure to let us know that you watch on NRB. Call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE or go to liferecoverytoday.net. Please join us again next week for more Life Recovery Today.